We're still looking at the impact of the Israel, United States and Iran war and how it has affected you, your pocket and your livelihood. We do hear, just like our previous interview with the PETROAN boss, that fuel may rise up to 2,000 naira. So you're ready. But now we're joined by the National Publicity Secretary of IPMAN. We do have Mr. Chinedu Ukadike who joins us. Good morning and thank you for staying here and joining us as well. And we also have Economist who's joining us as well to look at how the economy would have to find a way to absorb the shocker. Michael Famoroti also joins us as well. We'll be looking forward to have that conversation just now. But let's start off with IPMAN Publicity National Secretary who's speaking with us this morning. Mr. Ukadike, independent marketers are squeezed between rising depot prices and consumer backlash. Just yesterday we saw the prices skyrocket. How is IPMAN or how are IPMAN members managing this situation, and what would be the breaking point?
Well, this is not the first time. Good morning, Nigerians and viewers all over the world. This is not the first time this kind of issues has happened in this country. And we're still going back and front without serious planning, without reservoirs. The only fortunate thing that is going for us today is that we have a working refinery that is refining crude oil. If Dangote is not refining, it means that we'll be caught up with the war of Iran and the United States because of the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. It means products in this country will be scarce. People will be scrabbling for that. And once there is scarcity of product, profiteering will set in and price increase will move into a galloping mode. So we, the independent marketers, we are the last man that breaks the bulk of the chains of distribution. It's very, very hectic for us, especially in terms of finances, because these are the products we can be able to purchase with maybe within 45 to 50 million naira. But this time around, 70-something million naira is now pursuing, even up to 80 million naira is now pursuing a truck of petroleum product. It's a really hard toll on us in terms of borrowing funds and logistics, and also moving these products from the wet areas to the dry area, which incur a lot of transportation, because everything is reflective. Both the diesel that the trucks use now are almost going high to almost 3 to 4 million naira for you to truck a product from the wet area to the dry area. So, and all this is also imputed in the pump price since there is deregulation. So I also believe that the federal government should try as much as possible to get a kind of a backup, a kind of a reservoir or a satellite depot where petroleum products will be reserved. I also know around 1999 to 2000, sometime in Port Harcourt, when I'm still in Port Harcourt Refinery Depot, where we have diesel reservoirs. NNPC have diesel in storage in case if there is this kind of issues, they can be able to fall back on those petroleum products and continue to sustain supply, pending the resumption of refining and also importing. So I think we are battling with the current price of crude oil in the international market now. That is where our problem lies. As far as the crude oil continues to gallop, price increase in Nigeria is imminent, especially when the determining factor of the sales of crude oil is determined by the international market.
The concern now is we're not certain what happens in the next few days or weeks. If this war continues, the Strait of Hormuz is still under pressure. The pump price of petrol keeps increasing. Is there any point? I mean, I know you've said that the logistics is also a key element, and you've said that the federal government should have like depots. But what can be done, in the interim to ensure that we find a way to manage that? Because it's really scary for a number of us.
Yeah, I believe the economic expert that advises Mr. President should also have devised a means of subsidizing crude oil supply to Dangote, and also steady supply of crude oil in Naira. If that is done, it will not drastically affect inflation in Nigeria. You understand? It will not drastically affect inflation. This might be a kind of a temporal measure to be able to ensure that the inflation rate, domestic inflation rate, does not rise so much and becomes uncontrollable. So I believe the federal government has a lot to do. It's an emergency situation, actually. It is a war situation, and directly or indirectly, Nigeria is being affected in terms of its economic growth. So the federal government should, come in and come down to understand the plight of its citizens as with the independent marketers. Marketers who are no longer selling products the way we used to sell. Those who normally buy products like 50 liters now buy 10 liters and 5 liters. So the domestic activities and business is also going slow. And things are skyrocketing in the market, especially goods and services are skyrocketing and transportation are skyrocketing. So I believe that the Presidential Committee on Petroleum, who already advised Mr. President, should at least come up with a kind of a temporary measure whereby the crude oil should also be subsidized a little bit and enable Dangote to continue to refine, and other refineries, not only Dangote, other modular refineries that are refining, continue to refine and deliver petroleum products in a very less cost, so that it will benefit Nigerians, so that we won't suffer unnecessarily.
Thank you, Chief Ukadike. I would like to bring in our second guest into the conversation at this point, Michael Famoroti, an economist. He joins us live. Now, Michael, looking at what Chief Ukadike said, and it's a present reality, that we've started seeing rise in prices and things are going up. There are others that also feel, this is good news for Nigeria because the budget was benchmarked on $65 per barrel and Nigeria has more foreign exchange earnings, so it's a blessing. In another way, what's your take on this? Is this really a blessing or a cause for concern?
So on paper, they're right? So there's two primary ways that higher oil prices sort of filter through to the Nigerian economy. The main one that we've been talking about, of course, is higher petrol pump prices and other petroleum products. But yeah, absolutely, in theory, higher oil prices, particularly when you consider that oil prices today are trading somewhere around $35 to $40 above the budget benchmark. That should be a boost to federal government revenues. However, I think the big flag there is it does take a very long time for that kind of effect to filter to the common man, if it actually does. So I think, just being frank, the reality is the negative effect of higher petrol prices definitely has a more immediate and visceral effect on the economy, and the purported gains from the fiscal situation, those tend to manifest much later, if they do manifest.
If they do manifest, but let's look at it from the economic aspect as well. If one would buy petrol for 1,250 naira per litre, it means that Nigerians would have to expect increase in transportation, increase in food items, retail shopping. Everything would be heavily impacted on, maybe not negatively, but whether they like it or not, they just have to face it, because that's the reality. My question to you, Mr. Michael, would be, quickly, if this continues, is it possible for the federal government to kind of like provide some form of maybe a cushion? Because we've seen countries take away one working day in the week and allowing 4 days in Philippines. We've seen countries provide succor to some of their key staff. What do you think, as an economist, that the federal government can quickly jump into to provide Nigerians some form of maybe succor or rest or help?
Without giving rice?
Yeah, without giving rice. Mr. Ukadike, I hope you got that too. Without giving rice, we need help.
Yes. So first of all, I'm very glad that you did not suggest a return to subsidy, right? Because that was one of the banes of our, I guess, energy market, right? So I do agree that if this persists, particularly for months to come, although I'm a bit more optimistic, I'm giving the narrative that President Trump has spun in the last 24 hours, I'm a bit more positive that perhaps markets will settle. I do still expect prices to hover above 80, comfortably above $80. But if this does persist for a few months, then it does become important for the federal government and the CBN, particularly on the monetary policy side, to have a rethink of its policy approach for this year, right? Because definitely we can expect much higher inflation, which then filters through to tighter monetary policy and possibly weakness in the exchange rates, which we are already seeing. So these are conditions that will need to be mitigated because they were definitely not part of the plan for this year for policymakers.
So now the question is, you're talking about us not returning to subsidy. A number of the analysts we have on the show would say oftentimes that look forward to a time where our government can be proactive as opposed to being reactive. Is there anything the government could have done differently before now? I know you're not going to mention the non-removal of subsidy, but still speaking with you, Mr. Famoroti, is there anything the government could have done to ensure that we would have been able to adjust better to the effects of the war, really?
Yes, definitely. I think one thing, and I think other energy stakeholders would probably say more about this, but the energy market, particularly the downstream space and the refinery space, the market structure is very fragile, right? So whilst we celebrate the fact that Nigeria now is refining and producing refined products, the fact that that still remains concentrated in one major supplier means that there is a natural tendency for bottlenecks to occur, right? So that is just one big reality. The second factor, of course, is supply of crude oil to the refinery, right? I think I was reading yesterday that the Dangote group claimed that they're only getting about 40% of what they need from the federal government. Again, it might be marginal, but it is sort of cheaper for them to source locally. So the fact that even though we produce over 1.6 million barrels and we are able to provide that, the fact that that isn't happening, again, is an indictment on our preparedness for this sort of situation.
Much. I'd like to bring Chief Ukadike back into the conversation. Now, Chief, without the return to a subsidy regime, and if this goes on, I mean, I don't know how much Nigerians can take, but without the return to a subsidy regime, what would you, what low-hanging fruits are there, immediate gains that the federal government can use to, you know, try and offer succor to Nigerians, like some charges they pay to the NNPC, maybe they could put a moratorium on it. In your industry, what are the little things they can move around? And is it important for the federal government to also communicate with Nigerians? Because everybody's just watching the news and no official communication is coming from the federal government of Nigeria. We're left to our own, it's almost like we're on autopilot.
Yeah, I think the federal government has hands off the issue of petroleum product pricing and distribution, because they have not made any impact for the last 2-3 years, and it's actually itching on people. That is why sometimes people keep on clamoring, the members of the DAPMAN keep on clamoring that there is a sole refiner, a sole distributor, and a sole retailer, which was what NNPC was. Government policies can definitely change a lot of things and bring succor to the downtrodden, especially the masses. The first thing is that our pipelines that have been moribund for a very long period of time. There can be an emergency directive from Mr. President to ensure that most of these pipelines are being repaired as quickly as possible when, rehabilitating the pipelines will also bring succor, because the issue of transportation, the eve on transportation, AG is 1,750 naira now. And by the time you get it to your tank and move a truck from here from Apapa to Gombe, you know what the cost is like. So if the federal government can bring an emergency rule to ensure that these pipelines are being restored, to ensure that some of these obsolete depots are also being restored, they can be able to take products from batches to some DAPMAN members and others of them. These are little frameworks that can be able to reduce the cost of petroleum product. No matter how insignificant this will go, it will bring a little bit succor, and they also broaden the market. Now, every truck in Nigeria moves to Ibeju, Apapa, Lekki, and Apapa. Most of these trucks takes 3 to 5 days to get to their destinations. It's a really high toll on Nigerians. So if the issue of expanding the distribution chain, it will help reduce the price of petroleum product, because all these things are being calculated, and it comes out from the pump price. So I believe the federal government can do something as quickly as possible with this kind of economy that is going to boom because of this crisis. All these energy talks sometimes will not help Nigerians. The federal government should come down and also understand the flight of Nigerians, that things are skyrocketing in the market. And any moment from now, you will say we'll go to the streets to be able to protect the high cost of living in this country. So the issue of semantics in the energy industry will not be able to bring support to Nigerians. Federal governments have to do something very feasible, have to do something tangible that people can be able to see and understand that this government is reflective to the suffering of the masses. It's not the issue of long-time policies, third-time agenda and 15th-time. Those things does not help Nigerians at all. So we must have to make sure that all the structures, everything about our oil and gas industry is working. In terms of all these fees, trying to take products from to DAPMAN members, some of those fees are very, very exorbitant. Federal government can come in and look at some of these master fees, the depot charges and all the rest of them, and bring it down. And all these fees will be paid in naira, nothing like dollar. All the fees be paid in naira. You will see that DAPMAN members will be encouraged to go to Dangote and use their vessel to take petroleum product closer to the people, which will also reduce costs. All this story of there's nothing they can do, this thing has been deregulated. That is not correct. I'm talking about in Egypt now. They have cut down government expenses because of these issues. They have cut down the government expenses. Federal government can cut down government expenses, cut down government taxes, and ensure, look at what they did, and ensure that people can be able to have, get this present product and sell with little margin. We're the independent marketers now. We are borrowing more, and it's becoming more harder. You are seeing 4 or 5 filling stations sharing one truck because we cannot be able to get funds. The funds, the interest rate is so high, and by the time you bring this thing with the high cost of transportation, that's why you see products being sold at 1,400, 1,500, and 1,000. And the case may be, nobody understands when this thing will stop. So the issue of covering around laws and international community and all that, we must come down here and look at the Nigerians that we are governing, and see their plight, and see that things, if this inflation does not rip us off. That is what I'm talking about. I just want, because we're the independent marketers, we feel this thing in our filling stations. The way the people abuse us as if we are the cause of the war in Iran.
Okay, I also wanted to ask, Mr. Ukadike, just so you give a bit more clarity, because most of the reactions we've seen are people asking about the Dangote angle to the conversation, and there are those who wondered, what if Dangote wasn't established? What will happen to us? So, is there, what's the Dangote angle to it? Is there a way that it makes it easier on us, and is there a way that it can make it easier on us?
Well, I thank God for that refinery, Dangote. Because if this Dangote is not around, by now, fuel will be around 3,000 naira per liter, as I'm talking to you, because those who are importing this product will use this opportunity to rip off the nation. So there is another way to it. I have mentioned these things before. Federal government should invite all these refiners and look at their little problems. Those who cannot be able to get crude oil, supply them crude oil as quickly as possible. Another refinery, all these refineries that are manufacturing locally, you give them crude oil and ensure that they are refining, and competition will set in. If there is no competition, Dangote might wake up tomorrow morning and look at the burnt crude and look at how much he's going to make. And he's a businessman. He will also, as fast as possible, he will also recover his return on investment. So it is pertinent at this period of time that the federal government should come in and take some drastic actions to be able to ensure that the poor and leveraging masses don't suffer this unnecessary hardship.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ukadike, for speaking with us, and also thank you so much, Mr. Famoroti, for joining us. I think we'd wait to see where this would take us. We do understand that Nigerians have to, in quotes, tighten their belt. Mr. Ukadike had highlighted what's going on in Egypt, how they've cut the costs from governments, and also how maybe tax. I don't know if you can answer that in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Famoroti. What if the government decides to cut down on taxes? To just say, okay, taxes will be cut down to help people to manage the situation, or maybe the government can also look into the aspect of maybe removing, giving some relief on a certain, government, maybe taxes as well. What's your take?
So two quick things. One, it's very unlikely. I think the government has been very aggressive and bullish on its recent tax agenda. We know we all came into the year with talks about the tax reform bill and even people's getting tax straight from their bank account, right? So I think generally it's very unlikely that they're going to retreat in their tax agenda. The second thing, though, is the reality is a large chunk of the population that is most affected by the higher petrol prices are outside the formal tax net. So they will not benefit as much. So the government will need to look at more direct social intervention schemes if they want to support that group.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us, Mr. Famoroti, as well as Mr. Ukadike. Thanks for your time.